What's up guys, Anfield here. Welcome to the STB-1 third mark session video played by Dramatic. Now it's a real privilege to be able to do the commentary in this one because not only obviously the game's going to be really good, but also the fact that Dramatic's been coming by the stream for a really long time, and I've watched him as he's steadily gotten better and better and better to become like the fantastic player that he is now. And you have to be a fantastic player to 3 mark the STB-1. It truly does have a very high requirement. And you'll be able to see purely by the session statistics just what a high level of play that it took to 3 mark this tank. So without further ado, let's get straight into the games. Okay, so first up we have Abbey. Abbey is an interesting map as a medium because it can be difficult to really get a lot of damage out of Abbey. You have to play it really well and kind of be fortunate in some respects. It's a much better suited map for heavily armored tanks that have a lot of pushing capacity, such as the E5 in front of him. We'll have a nice time on Abbey. As for an STB-1, you don't have any armor. You do have DPM, but you can't snap very well, so you have to expose a little bit longer to get those shots off, even if your DPM is better than most tier 10 mediums. So you have kind of two options. You can go 1-2 line, or you go middle. Now, middle, you can do one of two things. You can try and get an early shot off on a pushing medium slash light tank, or you can actually push it. Now, generally, I don't like to ever push it because I don't really see much strategic value in holding it. That being said, it can be nice to get an initial shot, although you have to be very careful of artillery and tank destroyers that are quick loaded, especially with Grill 15s down in the game. They get to those positions and they're ready to snipe you so fast. You have to be very careful. The 1-2 line's really nice, and you can use these little windows here, which is where Dramatic's going on the high ground here, and you can snipe into the Abbey as long as it's lit. And generally you can light for yourself, but it's nicer if it's already lit so you know what you're going to have as an opponent. You can use those bushes to try and hide yourself, but Dramatic's choosing not to, I think, because it's a risk, because if you still get lit anyway, you have absolutely no cover. And obviously the STB-1 doesn't have any armor, really, so you can't really rely on that. He's getting some nice early damage here on the 62As who are struggling to hit him. He's using this little hill as cover very, very well. It's also nice because it protects him from artillery as well. Presents him as a less enticing target, so to speak. These 62As are really getting punished. That was a fortunate shot because the STB-1 gun is a little bit temperamental. Anyway, but his team has sent a decent amount of guys on the 1-2 line. Now, in other matches, you have to be careful because if your team doesn't push 1-2 with you, you can get overwhelmed very quickly here, and you don't really want to cross from where Dramatic is now back over. So you have to be very careful because you get trapped in this position, or you have to dive into the water to escape, and that's not really something you ever want to do, although at least it is an option for you. But nonetheless, you can see that pretty much most of the enemy team has been lit. There actually isn't that much hit points on this game, which obviously when you're trying to grind a third mark, the last thing you want is there not to be a lot of hit points in the game, so it's very difficult to farm damage on these types of games. But Dramatic's done really well so far to get the damage he has. Of course, he has to be careful because there's 3 artillery. Again, 3 artillery is bad for multiple reasons. Not only is it makes the game incredibly dangerous, but also there's less hit points that are in the game. Artillery don't carry that many hit points, so you know they're like a fourth of an equivalent tier tank's hit points, which is obviously not ideal when you're trying to farm damage from marks. But Dramatic's done well so far to get the damage he has. And it's an E50 here and an E5 that's already pretty beat up quite badly, so he's going to get a nice shot in there. Oh, and there's an E50 and an M4. So at this point he has to be very careful because if you look, he's actually looking for it as well. Backing up here is quite dangerous because of the fact that those 62As, or at least a 62A still alive, is in the middle, plus the light tank that's in the middle. So he has to be very careful, and he's been aware of that because he's decided to push a little bit further back for right now. That is a really nice shot. He's pulled back to avoid that. It looks like this E5 is taking a little bit of a blow from this light tank, but it's not really much to worry about. Although I suppose ultimately for Dramatic, he's running rations instead of a fire extinguisher, so he doesn't want to be shot in the back too much in case it gets lit on fire. But so far, 3,500 damage out of this game is really exemplary, really, because not a lot of HP, and you can see that the enemy team's been wiped so far. So he's just cleaning up really at the end of the day. E50 snapped there, but unfortunately the angling on the STB-1 turret was actually able to bounce that, which is nice. It doesn't matter for the grand scheme of things. So while he's just farming a little bit of damage, he'll probably get some of these artilleries. I'll just talk a little bit about the 8 line. The 8 line is bad because it's isolated from the rest of the map. You have no support. There's no cooperation between the flanks. 420. He just like wiggled his camera there. I wonder if that's an acknowledgement of the 420 roll. I hope it was. I'm sure he will say in the comments. Anyway, but yeah, the 8 line, and if you have to come back from the 8 line to defend your base, you're coming back from low ground instead of high ground. This, of course, the 1-2 line puts you on the high ground if you have to defend your own base, which is really, really nice. So yeah, but you can see 4,800 damage so far in this game is really, really nice. It's not a lot to have been farmed. It's a very fast game, all things said. I mean, it's not like 3 minutes fast, but it's pretty fast as far as games are concerned. Now, I just saw this AMX got unlit going up this 6 line. That's where Dramatic's headed, so hopefully he'll be able to farm some of this as well to supplement his damage even further. But he's had a really, really good game. Let's see, he's going to auto-aim. Yep. So, oh, can he get the ram? Hey, there it is. Yeah, so a really, really good game on Abbey there by Dramatic. And moving on to Airfield. Airfield is a map, of course, that I'm not a big fan of, but ultimately can yield some good games if you play it right and are fortunate with matchmaking. In this case, Dramatic only has to deal with 1 artillery. It's just a tier 9 bat shot already, which isn't the end of the world. An M53-55 would be much, much worse. As a medium, you either play the peninsula area over here, which is looks like that's where Dramatic's headed to, or you could play the little sniper nest, which is just over to his left by that tower. Personally, I think the peninsula is probably a better decision here with the tank destroyers that they have. That's where Dramatic's going to go. It's not as risky over here with only 1 artillery as it would be if there's multiple or more dangerous artillery. So I think this is a smart decision. It's coming really far up here. Let's see, he's looking for an early shot. I'm not sure what he might catch other than the IS-4, but he got lit, so he's not going to take that risk. You never know where the tank destroyers are. I'm not really sure what lit him. It could have been, of course, a light tank, but who knows what actually lit him. There's an artillery going for his first shot of the game, and there is an E4 going full ham. Well, Dramatic's not going to complain about gift wrap damage, so I'm not sure what this E4 thought was going to happen. And STB-1 DPM allows him to get a second shot off there, so it's really nice. Obviously, this area is really good for the STB-1, purely because if you look at the profile, it's so good. It's so slick and small. It can just get over here and fire and use its depression. It's really, really nice. Basically, you present yourself as an extremely small target, as well as the fact that you have incredible DPM. So you're just able to trade shots with these guys. Anything that comes up, this is AT-15, M46KR. These kind of tanks start poking up. Dramatic's going to have a really nice time. But there's even more things coming around here, so Dramatic's going to go deal with that. He already has 1,500 damage, or just short of. So he's going to come farm a little bit more off this IS-3. He's going to hug the little hill here. IS-3 rushed a shot into his turret, which fortunately bounced. The STB-1 turret can be kind of weird. Sometimes it does really well at bouncing things, and then other times it just seems to take damage no matter what. It looks like this 54A1 is reloading, so Dramatic's just going to pressure him, I guess. Let's see if he can track him. Ooh. I think he penned his lower plate there, because that was really delayed. Well, he has much better ping than I do, though, so. But almost 3,000 damage already, so, you know, that's not bad for just about 2.5 minutes played. Pretty good. And he's relocating back to the middle here. There's an oh-ho in the middle, which is interesting decision. See, I would be quite worried if I was Dramatic. That is really unfortunate. I'd be quite worried if I was Dramatic that the artillery will go for the oh-ho and accidentally hit me instead. Oh, that's unfortunate. I think Dramatic showed his frustration there with a little camera wiggle. Again, quite unfortunate there on the hatch of the AT-15. Just gonna have oh, there's the KR is still there, so he's gonna get a shot there. He has to be careful with this AT-15. Fortunately, got a bounce on the AT-15. This oh-ho. I don't know. Oh. AT-15 coming back up. It's a brave AT-15, to be honest with you. See if he can get the kill shot here. Yeah, just through the wall. Oh, he's noticed the C-28 prototype, so he's going to go after the C-28 prototype. But this battle's pretty much wrapping up. It's not completely over, but I think it's pretty much safe to say that Dramatic's team has won this game. So he managed to go for the road wheel there, which is beneficial for two reasons. Obviously, one, he keeps AT-15 where he wants him, but also two, he gets a little bit of assisted damage, and there's an E4 up here. Not paying attention to Dramatic, at least. See if he can get a cheeky shot here. Nice shot into the side turret. And the E4 says, oh, there's an STB-1, so he's coming after the STB-1. But he stopped short, which is a confusing decision, actually. And he came sideways. I'm not really sure why this E4 didn't come diagonally to at least angle himself, but Dramatically easily get 2 shots to that E4's 1, thanks to the STB-1's DPM. But you can see he's on 5,600 damage, which is really nice. So ultimately, at the end of the day, Dramatic's got to be pretty pleased with this battle, because despite the battle being only 5 minutes or so, he was able to get quite a lot of damage, which is real show of efficiency, just basically moving around the flank as he needed to get the damage. He has loaded to HE now, and that's obviously because of the artillery. So hopefully he'll be able to use the HE on the artillery, and hopefully the artillery doesn't drown himself, because, you know, artillery players never do that. Well, that never happens. Yeah, it's really rare to see this. Why this is still something that happens, wargaming allows, I don't know, but a good battle by Dramatic nonetheless. So here we have Redshire, and Dramatic is probably pretty pleased about this as we initially load in here, because there's no artillery, so that's always something that will make a Unicum very happy. So there is a lot of tanks though. In fact, there's only one tank destroyer on each team. They have a JP-100. Dramatic's team has a Jagdtiger, and just lots of heavies and mediums. So this is going to be a really fun battle, I think, because there's lots of room for maneuver and fighting, and not too much risk of getting absolutely shreked in one hit by a tank you can't see. So he's going mid here, and this is obviously to get some initial shots. Mid allows you to do a couple things. One, it allows you to get shots on their side of the hill, as well as also sometimes get shots as the enemy team approaches the 9-0 line, but also pushes the 9-0 line. So if Dramatic's team loses the 9-0 line, which if I look at the team listings looks like it's gonna be probable, we'll see if we can hit this RU-251. Nice shot. Yeah, you can see that Dramatic's team does have an E5 and E75, but they are not going over to the 9-0 line. However, the enemy team has 2 E100s, an IS-7, 2 E5s, a T-57, 2 E75s, I think, yeah, and a JP-100, and an STI, and a T-10. So if they don't win the 9-0 line, then I don't even know what to say. There's already a JP-100, or excuse me, an E100 over there. So their IS-7s, they're going to really struggle, because the force they have over there is 4 heavies to something like 8. So it's not something that I feel is going to end well. But if you look at where these E100s already are, Dramatic's already noticed it. These guys are going to be able to push soon. These IS-7s will die, the VK will die, the IS-3 will die. These tanks are going to go down, and when they do go down, Dramatic will have shots as they try to push, which is one of the, at least, sort of saving graces if your team does lose a 9-0 line from this side. Once this team here with the 57s, E100s, they start pushing, they're going to get shot. Nice initial shot there by Dramatic. He's loaded heat here, no chances. Doesn't want to lose the damage. It's critical that they get as much damage as possible. That unfortunately went too low, and even APCR wouldn't have done damage there. But yeah, he's just got to try and do as much damage as he can to these guys as they run. He's going to run out of vision soon, though. I think everything is dead over there, which is unfortunate. But at least they've done something. Yeah, there goes the vision. So, obviously, 0 to 4 is not a good start. Now, his IS-7s should have looked at that and seen, hang on a second. And this is what I try to tell you guys, you know, when I make positioning videos and things like that. You cannot ignore the team listing and assume that you 2 IS-7s, you have to go to the heavy flank, which is, you know, typically considered the 9-0 line. You have to look at the enemy team and think, hang on, that might be suicide. You don't have to always cover every single flank in a game. In fact, generally it's not really advisable unless it's a very important flank. So yeah, anyways. There are a couple shots here as some of these tanks crest over into the middle. And at least Dramatic is in a position and in a tank that is actually capable of playing these hills really well. So yeah, this is going to be good, because even if his team does lose this game, they've at least got themselves in a position where they can defend for quite a while. There's plenty of hit points and guns still around Dramatic, which is one of the key features of being able to carry, is you still need tanks and guns in the right area. You can do the damage, you just need people to be in the right spot. It's a nice shot on the road wheel there with that Batshot 25 TAP. Oh, I thought he was going to get it again there for a second. This Batshot very greedy, so he's going to get another road wheel shot. See, at this point, I think the Batshot is out, but Dramatic could have dropped down lower on the hill and still been able to shoot the Batshot, and the Batshot wouldn't have had the depression. I think he's going to move now, and that's because you can see how many red tanks there are moving over there, and only a Skoda is over there. So, really, oh, that is so unfortunate. Really, for Dramatic, this is about playing the hills. Kiting the opponents around the hills is, there's a lot of slow tanks over there, E100s and things. These tanks won't move around. The E5s are the biggest threat for sure. So let's see how he chooses. He's going to move over here by the looks of it now. Basically, he needs to be around his allies while trying to keep his gun as much as he can in the game still. There's an E100 there. Cheeky little snapshot. He did actually hit him, but unfortunately didn't pen. This E5 on his team is going to be very careful with a JP100 waiting there. So that's heat into the superstructure of the JP100, which of course will pen most of the time. That's a shoulder shot in the STI. So obviously there's going to be a lot of people triggered by the heat usage here, but Dramatic doesn't have a great deal of choice. Unfortunately, even though he can aim at weak points, the STB-1's quite inaccurate, and the pen isn't quite high enough. He doesn't have the kind of TD level of pen you need to pen some of these weak points. But amazingly, the enemy team didn't push around the north where the Skoda is here. You can see the Skoda's just got free reign over there. Instead, what the enemy team has done is pushed, and they've centralized themselves into this ED line, which is incredible because they had map control and now they've just given it up to Dramatic's team, essentially. Now this Skoda is going to get around these guys pushing on these hills, and is just going to get back shots all day long. I mean, truly quite incredible, and that's an unfortunate shot there by the E5. So he's going to push, I think, this STI. Well, he actually doesn't need to go around that much if this E5 isn't pushing him. But the E5 is quite, I think, afraid of the 907 by the looks of it. But Dramatic is just going to try and deal with this E5 best he can, take shots where he can. Although there's, try and take a T10 shot where he can as well. So the key here for Dramatic is to just be careful, not overextend, take these shots where he can, and just pay attention to where his enemy team is going. Like, they should have lost this game, but the enemy team made very bizarre decisions. I'm really confused, to be honest with you. That's unfortunate. But you can see here that they've reversed the situation. Well, now it's 10-10 again, but it was reversed previously. Okay, so this is clever. He's seeing that this E75 is moving over here, so he's going to move back over to this set of hills to avoid them. He's basically eliminating the amount of guns that can shoot him and picking the weakest flank where the enemy is least defended, I suppose, with the least amount of guns. I can't believe this Skoda had free reign of the north, though. That's absolutely bizarre. But anyway, this E75 is an inviting target because he's on his own. The E75 and I think the T10 cannot support him. Let's see if we can get this JP100 kill. Very nice. So this E75 is a very juicy target because he can just sit on this hill and just kill this E75, who is going to have a harder time responding to him, as well as the fact that his allies cannot help him whatsoever. So that's unfortunate. The E75 did manage to turn the tank. E75 actually turns very, very quickly. If you're ever trying to circle that tank, it's very difficult because it does turn extremely quickly. Just see how well the STB-1 plays on these hills, though. It's absolutely in its element. And this is where this tank was designed to be. Like, Russian mediums are nice, but they can't do the things that this tank can do on hills. Even the 140 with this extra degree of depression. I actually thought that E5 was going to go deal with him, but he's not. E5 is going absolutely ham. What is he doing? That is... You can see he wiggled his camera again in frustration, I think, at that bounce. Truly, truly bizarre decision-making by this T110 E5. Dramatic doesn't care. I mean, he's getting free shots on the back. But now he's just going to go in and kill this T10, who has absolutely no help. And, yeah, no chance to deal with Dramatic there. So I guess he's just going to go chase this E5 now, who's dead set on going after the Skoda T50 for whatever reason, I don't know. But 7,300 damage so far Dramatic's done. Just a really, really, really nice game for him. Let's see if this Leopard beats him to it. I don't know. The Leopard has to be careful. He doesn't have any hit points. This E5 could just turn and snap him. Where is this E5? Sort of disappeared here. Ah, there he is. So hopefully Dramatic gets an extra shot at the end of this battle here on this E5. He should be able to. I think, because this Leopard has to be so careful. I mean, he needs Dramatic to take the first hit. Which, of course, Dramatic, with the hit points, has absolutely no problem taking the first hit. Should be dead now, this E5. But a really nice battle there by Dramatic. 7,711 damage on Redshire. Now we're on to Murovanka. And this is an interesting map, and as an STB-1 this is a good map as well because there are lots of hills, which is obviously really nice for STB-1 with its depression and its profile. So I guess because this is Encounter, it doesn't really change much for Dramatic. He's still likely to go to the forest, and on Encounter, but even on Standard, it's generally really nice to control the forest. Even though the cap is on the 1-2 line, you can generally defend it quite easily. You just win the forest and then collapse entirely around with your map control. As long as you have a small forest to hold off the cap so that it can't cap. You know, obviously capping is slower. Now he's moved to this... Oh my god, please say. If he can get the second shot off, that is such a good start to this battle. Dramatic probably can't believe his luck. Oh my god. And the second... There's another one up. Oh my days. Dramatic, the savior that we all needed, he's blind fired, but the SU has disappeared. I think this AMX, relentless AMX, is going straight back in and is able to spot him. Dramatic definitely blind fired him correctly. Unfortunately, didn't roll very high. And a kill on... You couldn't really ask for a better start to a battle though, with, you know, 2 enemy artillery and both of them dead by your hands. It doesn't really get much better than that. But Dramatic's getting some really nice early shots here, which is made possible, 1, because the artillery's been lit, and 2, because he's got a really active AMX spotting for him, as well as the fact that these tanks are moving over to these positions, such as this 704. I'm not really sure what the 704 thought was going to happen there. It's a very odd decision by the 704. Now, you can see that the enemy team has begun to cap, but this will go up very, very slowly. You can see 3 minutes still left on the cap. It's a very long time in a battle. You think how long 3 minutes is and how much generally happens in a battle in 3 minutes. So Dramatic is pinging at it just to make sure his allies understand that it does need to be dealt with soon. But at this point, Dramatic has no rush to get back. It would not serve him to go back at this point. With only 1 guy on the cap, there's no rush. He can farm this damage for a little while longer. He doesn't have to risk throwing his tank away, because let's not forget, there may be just 1 guy on the cap, but you don't know how many guys are around that guy. So he's taking his time, getting what shots he thinks he can get before finally moving over. Now, obviously, again, the STB-1 is going to come into big play here, because he can just play these hills. You know, he can just go on the hills and, farm damage and reset these guys, which is just, again, STB-1 strengths. It's a tank that is certainly really fun to play, and if you really have the patience for the gun, it really is a fantastic tank, unlike the heavy of the branch. But, let's just give that tank a massive HE gun. Yay! Anyway, so here's this T10. But Dramatic actually isn't going to shoot him first because there's an ISU exposed there, and also the artillery teed up that he was going to shoot the T10 anyway. No reason to worry too much. They don't have that much cap points, and you can see by Dramatic's team basically winning the forest and sweeping around, they now have complete map control. The enemy team has had basically all their guns split for most of the battle, so yeah, his Dramatic's team's done very well, and they pushed when they needed to push. So you can see here, and this is something, you guys, if you're not already in the habit of, aiming for tracks when you have the chance. If you have the chance to do damage and track, always go for that front road wheel track. It's so important. Dramatic, if he wanted to, could have just shot the T10 in the upper plate, but instead he went for that road wheel shot, so not only tracking the tank, but also, yeah, getting the damage as well. So you can see there that he ignored the T10. That's because the T10 had no hit points left. His team is guaranteed the win, and he's going to accept that he's going to get hit by the T10 there. The worst thing that could happen was a fire, but the chances are still quite slim. He took the chance and is now moving over to move. That Scorpion is really not very happy. Anyway, he's now able to move into more damage. Can't believe no one can take STB-1 out. Wow. Well, your team is kind of dead, dude. I don't really know what you expect. Once again, a road wheel shot into the 62A. Although at that distance, it's a little fortunate. The Scorpion's a little weird. I don't really know what he's trying to say. Anyways, only thing less is 62A, and hopefully Dramatic will get one more shot onto the 62A, providing him with 5,000 damage, I think. 62A is poking. Dramatic is looking, unfortunate there. But he did do 5,000 damage, actually, I remember, because he hit the artillery. So a really nice game on Muro there. So Dramatic is back onto Redshire, only this time we're on the opposite side of the map. It still is Encounter, but it's the opposite side, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how this map develops. Also, you'll notice that the matchmaking is very, very different from the last time. There is artillery in this one as well. Shouldn't be too much of a factor because it's only one and it's a tier 8 only. Obviously you can't ignore a tier 8 artillery. It still does a lot of damage. It's very frustrating to lose a ton of hit points from the back of the map by tier 8 artillery. So gotta be something you gotta be careful of, but it looks like Dramatic is at least setting up the same way. And counter battles generally do play out the same as standard on Redshire, only you might get some initial damage on tanks trying to get to the cap really early. You can also get some initial damage on the 9-0 line if it's lit well enough. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up first. There's a light tank. Although you'll notice that the Bulldog, and I think Dramatic's just noticed, Bulldog on his team is running right up the 0 line, running into another Bulldog, but also spotting a Grill 15, which Dramatic is going to have some shots on. And he'll be very grateful for that. But you can see he actually lit a ton of tanks, but he went too far. He probably could have survived the spotting run if he'd have been careful. But Dramatic at least is getting a few shots of damage here. So, unfortunately didn't hit the E4 there. There is a Pershing coming up right on top of him though. And he's backing up really quickly there. You can see the STB-1 with its low profile is able to really get down the hill really fast and not be exposed for too long. What is this Pershing doing? Okay, Pershing is just like going full ham for unknown reasons. I don't know. Maybe if he'd have fired gold rounds, he would have had Unicom level game. I think that was his problem, was not firing gold. But a nice shot on the 113 there, and so far so good for Dramatic. Got a couple initial shots of damage off in this game, which is really nice to get off to a good damaging start. He's going to relocate now just to see if he can find anything else over here. Maybe get a shot on either the Bulldog capping or the tanks that are still over there, like the Scorpion and the Batshap, which he's looking for right now. But they've not been lit just yet. Although this Bulldog, for some reason, is poking up, so Dramatic says yes, please. A little bit of extra damage there onto the Bulldog. It looks like he's gonna relocate back now. Perhaps gonna look over to see if he has any kind of shot on any of these guys or something, I don't know. Kind of depends on whether they get lit. Obviously, look, there you go, the T-30 got lit, so that's really what he was, best case scenario, only there's a Bulldog, so that is going to take precedent, and he's going to get some shots. Bulldog, so many YOLOs. Let's see if he can shoot this AMX. This might be more difficult, though, because he's kind of on the back of the hill. He doesn't want to lose gun elevation. Well, that would have been a miracle if he'd have hit that shot. battle so far is sort of developing at a steady pace, and his team is doing pretty well. It doesn't look like there's a bat shot. Well, and the scorpion, okay. Not sure what the scorpion thought was going to happen there. Maybe he can get the kill shot, but his team should soon have map control in terms of winning this middle area here on the western flank, and his team over on the eastern flank is holding quite well. So honestly, at this point, Dramatic just needs to play aggressively, but not to the point where, you know, he might accidentally overextend too far, but aggressive because he needs to clean up whatever's left on this flank and then begin to move over to the east and then come up behind, because at that point obviously then you get to shoot tanks in the back and it's all fun and games and farm basically. So at this point he's probably just a little bit cautious, kind of looking for this bat shot. Obviously if the bat shot has a full clip, that's a really nice shot. Fortunate too, because obviously the STB-1's not super accurate, but yeah, if the bat shot has a full clip, he still poses a very, very big threat to Dramatic if he's not careful. So he's looking for shots over here, but there's nothing, so he's going to go for this T-30. You just have to be careful. The Grill 15 is over there, so he's going to tuck back in. Yep, tuck right back in. There's no reason to stay out there. He doesn't want to get shot by this Grill 15. Although now he can go back to replaying on the hills. See if he can hit this Grill 15. Easy peasy. Gets a little bit of extra damage. This bat shot, I'm not sure why the bat shot just randomly stops rather than uses his speed and maneuvers around. Unless maybe he doesn't have a full clip for some reason and he only had that one extra shot to kill the Pershing. I don't know. It's a little confusing. Oh, but this is clever. See, the STB-1 is obviously incredibly low profile, and he can use this little raise in the hills, raise in terrain to basically avoid this T-30 and then see if he can kill him. Yep. So really nicely played there, using the hills to his advantage. I mean, you've got tanks like, you know, obviously I love to play the 50B, but the tank is enormous, so you try to play it on hills like that, it just does not work, whereas the STB-1 has the amazing depression, and it's super low profile. It's a small tank, so yeah, really nice at doing things like that. Let's see if this bat shot's still over here. Yep, still over here. See if he gets the ram. Yeah, a little bit of extra damage. But that also means that the little bit of extra ram damage means that this shot should kill the bat shot no problem. Which it does, and now he's going to go after the GGV Tiger. He's going to load HE, try and get that 440 in one shot rather than low roll and have to get 2 shots and risk being TD moded. Hopefully that artillery didn't hit him. Obviously, you know, in this case you won the game, so you want to get as much out of it as you can. So yeah, the artillery didn't do damage. So a nice shot in the side. So a very good Redshire battle once again by Dramatic. So the final battle I have for you guys, I believe, is the third mark battle, and this is on Malinovka. So I'm hoping for a pretty good game, because obviously if it's a 3-mark game, generally you do quite well. Now, Malinovka as a medium is generally a pretty solid map, and as an STB-1 you have a lot of advantages, and that's particularly because the hill is quite obviously, as we talked about, very good for the STB-1 due to its profile and its depression. So I expect that he'll go to the hill here and try to fight anything that really goes over there, basically. The only thing that really worries me is the Object 261, a highly accurate tier 10 artillery, which can still pump out a lot of damage, and obviously, you know, it's got to be worrying for Dramatic in a lot of senses, because, you know, being focused by an artillery is not fun. So we'll have to see how it sort of plays out, though. Sometimes you don't have it as a problem for some reasons, or sometimes the artillery just focuses you non-stop. So we'll have to see how this battle actually develops. He's got a T-49 up ahead of him, which is quite useful because he'll do a little bit of an early spot, and so Dramatic will have a better idea about what he has to face. He's just having a poke up here just to see if he can get some shots, but unfortunately it doesn't look like there's going to be any kind of shot there on the 62A, so he's just going to continue moving up the hill. Now the T-49 also stopped, which is a little inconvenient, because obviously it would have been nice for the T-49 just to take a quick look and see what he can see. But for some reason the Dramatic's ally Waffle has drowned himself. It's not really ideal. But Dramatic's getting some shots in the 62A here, which of course he'll be very grateful for. Not really sure how that Waffle managed to drown himself. Also, they've lost the 51-20 to the FV. I imagine that was a one-shot, which is, again, not something that's very ideal. His M46 pattern on his team is sort of expressing a bit of frustration there at the Waffle. But yeah, it's not something you want to lose, a tier 9 tank destroyer to drowning. But this Batshot is up at this little area here. Now, if this T-49 had actually been watching, he would have seen the Batshot come up and maybe gotten a massive shot on this. I mean, I'm not a fan of the T-49, obviously, but, you know, if you're going to play that tank, why wouldn't you put it in a position ready to shoot someone coming up there? But now he's dead, which is a little unfortunate. So, he has a 57 with him, and that's actually kind of nice because the 57 may present a more juicy target for the Object 261. Well, there's the first attempt by the 261 to hit them. But he's just sort of waiting for this Batshot. Unfortunately, he just got absolutely wrecked there, the T-57. So, not a great start to this battle as far as Dramatic's team, although they do have an E5 that's dead. And I think that's because the E5 pushed the south. Why people push the south, I truly do not understand. It's always suicide. But people continue to push that southern flank, and it only ever works when your team completely abandons the base and you don't have anyone watching it. I don't know. But anyways, Dramatic's gonna get some shots in this 57 here. He's just, you know, actually decided to push up. His DPM should allow him. Yep, DPM allows him to get a second shot in the 57, just like the E4 on the other map. So fast. The 57 trying to hide behind the destructible house. I think Dramatic was actually going for damage there. He didn't actually mean to bring the house down a little bit, but trading relatively well the 57, although obviously that's not a shot he wanted to take. But he has at least done quite a bit of damage to that 57, and the T-30 is now dead. Batshot's pretty weak. 50-120 is one-shottable, and that leaves the M103. So it's nice that he's had a bit of support. He's got an E100 here, JP100, and M103. Quite a lot of tanks up here. So, you know, that's unfortunate. So Dramatic, you know, at least is in a position where he's not the sole target for artillery to aim at. And hopefully artillery won't choose to shoot him. He has to be very careful what he does here, because obviously all it takes is a FV 4005 to be... In fact, that E4 just took a massive shot. To be over there where that 62A was last spotted, for him to unfortunately get punished. He's going to move into this spot now, see if he can get some shots. This is a really nice ridge line, especially when you have depression. You can just sort of chill over here and rain fire. But oh no, he's actually going to go straight in, which is fair decision because his team is pushing, and I think at this point Dramatic probably weighs the fact that yes, maybe he could snipe for some damage, but especially when he's going for a third mark, he's going to use his tank to spot as much as possible. I seriously doubt his optics, but it shouldn't matter too much when he's at this close proximity. You know, he likes a tank like his JP100, does some of his own damage, and then also receives some assisted damage is the idea. There's a T-30 there, but he actually lost his ammo rack to a T-10, which is really unfortunate RNG. So, but at least I guess he knows that the T-10 is over there, regardless of the fact that the T-10 is lit. So he is still over there, probably where he was last lit. So Dramatic's just gonna try and feel his way through, inch forward, use the bushes to try and spot what he can. It does suck that he's lost his ammo rack, though. Obviously, that's not ideal. He has done quite a lot of damage so far, so that's always nice. Ooh, there's the FV. So has to be careful of that as well. Although this M46 is doing a great job blocking. Rip M46. So E75, T10, and T30 all in the base, which, you know, Dramatic's probably really frustrated that he got ammo racked, because that's quite a lot of damage he could farm, but he unfortunately is working with quite a bit of less DPM. But the one advantage you have is the STB-1 obviously has a fast base reload, so doubled it's still not that much, or at least not that crippling as it would be to be in a tank with a massive reload or with an autoloader. Obviously, that's the last thing you want is to be ammo racked in that case. So, battle's a little even here. And with them having their artillery, they actually sort of have the advantage. They do have a 62A somewhere around there, and obviously they'll have to be very cautious. In fact, that's the 62A just hitting him. That was a nice kill in the T-30. Dramatic's trying to get away from the 62A, I think. He's using the E100s as a bit of a shield. The Tortoise is going after the 62A. I think Dramatic is too now. Yep. Dramatic's going after the 62A. This is the right play. He knows where the 62A roughly has to be, and this Tortoise is going to see him really, really soon. So, Dramatic can just poke up here and take some shots. In fact, this is a nicely placed bush for him to use. Keep himself safe. That sounded like a track shot. Can't see because we don't have outlines in replays yet. I don't know why that's still a bug, but oh well. He's just left that Tortoise. Tortoise was guaranteed to kill the 62A. 62A couldn't repair it. Tortoise has an ultra fast reload. Pretty much a given that the Tortoise would be able to deal with that 62A. So Dramatic's moving back. He's going to have a look around and see what else he can find. At this point, it might be tempting to like YOLO in and do some crazy spots, but it can be nice to like sort of work your way in little bit by bit and avoid the temptation to just go full ham. Use as many bushes as you can find basically to spot what you can. Especially when they have the 261, you have to be very, very careful because if you do get lit, it might not end well. So Tortoise is saying, hold on guys, I will take the hit, which is quite nice actually to see a tank destroyer be like, well actually I have tons of hit points, so maybe I will go do the spotting. It's gonna take him a little while though. Tank is not called the Tortoise for no reason. Dramatic is looking for a shot. Oh! Hey! So he didn't get the damage, but he did manage to get out of the way. Using the downward hill as enough momentum to avoid getting hit there. There's the E75, also lit. So he should be able to, yeah, should be able to hit that guy. So that just leaves the FV and the artillery. Ironically in the same place. They're similar tanks, only one is direct fire and one is indirect. But Dramatic should be able to spot them no problem whatsoever. In fact, the JP100 just lit that FV, so Dramatic can just once again go back to playing the hills. So despite the fact that he's been ammo racked and had a double reload, because the STB-1 DPM is good, it's not as big of an issue to be ammo racked, but this is pretty much the last battle, obviously, you know, because this is the third mark battle, so a really, really good session by Dramatic here, and the damage has been really, really good, and he's done a really good job at, despite being in some battles that damage being rather difficult to obtain, he still got a lot out of games and milked them for every little bit that they're worth, so really nice there by Dramatic, and I want to give him a big thanks for letting me use the replays, and a big congratulations on the 3 mark at the STB-1. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you learned a thing or two, and you know, maybe a few of you that don't own the STB-1 will now want to go up the STB-1. Just keep in mind that the gun is a little bit trolly, so yeah. But thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.